Welcome to World History Notes. I'm going to read from my book I wrote to teach homeschoolers uh, entitled A Bible Believer Looks at World History. And you can get it on lulu.com, amazon.com, or the Bible Baptist Bookstore, or just follow me here. So we're talking about ancient China today. Reliable historians state that no one knows where the Chinese came from or what was the beginning of their race or how old their civilization is. And I use race to refer to culture, not color. A race as a color, a definition of color is a cultural construct. Anyway, it has no biological relevance. So we're talking about race, we're talking about culture, civilization. There is a great deal of fossil evidence in China and Mongolia to lead the atheistic scientists to conclude that Paleolithic Stone Age man existed there for tens of thousands of years. But since some of the most striking evidence of their early art and industry clearly came from Mesopotamia, I would insist that once again we must look to the biblical narrative for answers. Some say the Chinese descended from Ham, others say Shem. Those who theorize that the Chinese came from Ham point to the son of Canaan called Heth. The cuneiform of the word Hittite is Kittay, also known as Kitai, which comes down to us as Cathay, an old word referring to the Chinese people. Quoting directly from Tim Osterholm, who uses Noah's three sons by Arthur Custance, Genesis and Early Man, excuse me, by the same author, Bill Cooper's After the Flood, Henry Morris's The Genesis Record, and Ruth Beecheck's Genesis Finding Our Roots, among others, as references. He says, and I quote, Sin, or Seni, a brother of Heth, has many occurrences in variant forms in the Far East. There is one significant feature concerning the likely mode of origin of Chinese civilization. The place most closely associated by the Chinese themselves with the origin of their civilization is the capital of Shenzi, namely Shangfu, Father Sin. Shangfu appears in Assyrian records as Sianu. Today, Shangfu can be loosely translated, quote, peace to the western capital of China. The Chinese have a tradition that their first king, Fu He or Fo He, the Chinese Noah, made his appearance on the mountains of Qin, was surrounded by a rainbow after the world had been covered with water, and sacrificed animals to God, corresponding to the Genesis record. Excuse me. Sin himself was the third generation from Noah, a circumstance which would provide the right time interval for the formation of early Chinese culture. Furthermore, those who came from the Far East to trade were called Sin, by the Scythians. Ptolemy, a Greek astronomer, referred to China as the land of Sinim or Sinai. Reference to the Sinim in Isaiah 49:12 notes they came from afar, specifically not from the north and not from the west. Arabs called China Sin, Chin, Mahachin, Machin. The Sinai were spoken of, and I might not have pronounced that exactly right. The Sinai were spoken of as a people in the remotest parts of Asia. For the Sinai, the most important town was Sinai, a great trading emporium in western China. The city Thinay is now known as Sin or simply Tin, and it lies in the province of Shenxi. Much of China was ruled by the Sino-Khitan Empire, 960-1126 AD, which Beijing became the southern capital. The Sinai became independent in western China, their princes reigning there for some 650 years before they finally gained dominion over the whole land. In the 3rd century BC, the dynasty of Sin became supreme. The word Sin itself came to have the meaning of pure bread. This word was assumed by a title by the Manchu emperors and is believed to have been changed into the form China. From there, the term was brought into Europe as China, just China, probably from the Qin or Qin dynasty, 255 to 206 BC. The word for China is China. Latin is Sina. As well, Chinese and surrounding languages were part of the Sino-Tibetan language family. Years ago, American newspapers regularly carried headlines with reference to the conflict between the Chinese and Japanese, in which the ancient name reappeared in the original form, the Sino-Japanese War. Sinology refers to the study of Chinese history. With respect to the Cathay people of historical reference, it would make sense to suppose that the remnant of the Hittites, after the destruction of their empire, traveled towards the east and settled among the Sinites, who were relatives, contributing to their civilization and thus becoming the ancestors of the Asian people groups. Still others migrated throughout the region and beyond, making up present-day Mongoloid races in Asia and the Americas. The evidence strongly suggests that Ham's grandsons, Heth, Hittites, Cathay, and Sin, Sinites, China, are the ancestors of the Mongoloid peoples. Now, this was from this book I was referring to, from the author Tim Osterholm. So we will have much more to say about China and India as we move forward. These nations are particularly important in today's world with regard to geopolitics and for conditions at the end time. Sam Cohen, father of the neutron bomb, in his book Shame, has prophesied that in 20 years, Asia will be using as much oil in a day as we do now in a year, and we'll be importing more than half of it. This has serious implications when considering the ongoing struggles in the Middle East and Revelation's Kings of the East in Revelation 16. We're going to discuss Edom and the Hittite Empire next, for their importance in these early times. Thank you.